Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another Dark and Darker video. This time we're not really playing the game, we are just talking. So if you're here for cool and exciting gameplay, or maybe, not very cool and exciting gameplay, depending on your opinion, I guess, it's not here. We're just talking about the game. That's all that's happening here today. We're talking about the new teaming ban that has happened in this game. We're talking about if it's good or not. A quick spoiler: I don't think it's a very good decision. I think it's generally pretty bad. We'll talk about the pros and cons of it. Um, but first, just a quick disclaimer. Why should you care about my opinion? You shouldn't. You should probably do your best to form your own opinions on most things. Um, I just like the game a lot, and I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. You're allowed to say that I'm wrong about the things I'm saying in this video. Just like don't be an asshole. Don't be weird about it. Just keep it civil, etc. Right now, if you now keep there's people I should keep in mind that maybe don't know what this ban is actually. This might be the first time you're seeing this. So real quick, for those of you who don't know, here is the new rule. This was posted by Grayson in the Dark and Darker official Discord. As far as I know, it's maybe the only place it's been officially posted. Maybe there's other platforms in other countries that I don't use that also have similar posts right now. But it's you know it's interesting. It's interesting that there's a decent chance that a lot of people don't know about this rule. Now, I'll here just quick read through for it. Over the last few weeks, we have clearly heard your concerns regarding teaming. At first, our stance was as long as players are naturally grouping in the dungeons, then it was considered okay. Unfortunately, this has become extremely common, and we have decided that it is time to adjust this stance. Starting today, if you are caught grouping with another team to kill other players inside the dungeon, you will be banned. If you just avoid each other, then this is okay, but actively fighting another team together at the same time is no longer considered okay, even if formed through VoIP. The first offense will be a temporary 14-day ban, and the next offense will be a permanent ban. If you catch users clearly grouping together to fight other teams, please send any video evidence to anti-cheat support accounts. Please do not worry about getting false banned. We will only consider evidence we deem very clear. Thank you all very much. This applies. This only applies for evidence gathered from now on. Please do not send us past evidence. Now, I said before, I didn't like this change, but it's important to note that there are positive things about this new rule, right? Getting 2v1 in the Goblin Caves, or 6v3 in the Crypts, or whatever number v whatever smaller number, it's not fun. This game, if you're in a 2v1, most times, no matter how good you are, you lose that fight. I'm not saying it's impossible to win it still, but saying get good and things of that nature is not really a valid response to this. And as long as people are allowed to team up, they will team up. It'll happen, a lot. If this ban is enforced, people won't get 2v1'd anymore, right? If assuming, I mean, it'll happen very rarely, I should say, right? If they are effective at enforcing this new rule, people will get banned pretty quickly and will stop teaming, right? And that is a net positive, right? Like, that again, it's not a fun gameplay experience, so that not happening anymore will probably be a net positive. I know some people like the challenge of being in a 2v1 or a 3v1 or whatever. You can just go to the map you want for that, right? If you want a 1v2, you can go to the ruins, right? It's not, it's not like this will remove that challenge for people who want that challenge, right? However, it's important to note here, what exactly is teaming, and is it always good or bad, right? As you can see, I made a great meme. Now's your opportunity to just fucking go crazy, start laughing, hysterically here. But I think there's some validity to this, meme. I guess, I don't know. But anyway, in my personal experience, which is important to note, not everyone's experience. People who team up usually do it for defensive reasons, not offensive reasons. And to clarify that, when I say offensive, I don't mean like offensive, like being offended. I mean like offense, like attack, like offense in the sense of the opposite of defensive. Anyway, um, they're generally not trying to hunt down and kill other players. They're generally trying to stop other players from killing them. I'm not implying that people who team up never play offensively. I'm not saying they never actively try to kill other players in the lobby. I just believe that it's happening less often than other people indicate. And I think what oftentimes probably happens more often is there will be a team of 2 players and a third person will stroll up and will often, more times than not, attack them instead, right? And then be killed in retaliation. Which I'm not trying to say that that that's not a bad experience for the person who attacked them. I just, don't necessarily think it's the teamer's fault for that person dying, right? But anyway, I'm not here to make, I guess, moral judgments on that here. But there are, in my opinion, cons to this rule change as well, right? Currently, the rule is not very intuitive as written. There's some loopholes, if you want to call it that. There's some ambiguity. There's some gray area that it's not really doing a good job of addressing in these rules that I would like more detail for. In addition to that, it's very difficult to enforce. It does reduce emergent gameplay to an extreme degree, and this last one purely speculative. These first 3, I'm pretty confident will be issues, but the last one definitely more speculative. But I think that VoIP and the player base in general will probably become more toxic with this change in place. Now, let's go for the first one here. Not very intuitive as written, right? It got a little excerpt from those rules we just read before. It's the meat of the rule change, right? This is pretty much it right here. And I've got some hypotheticals here, right? I've got some hypotheticals for this, right? If I see someone getting killed by someone else, do I have to wait for the fights to be over before getting involved, right? Because as you can see here in the rules, it doesn't exactly explicitly say, when you are allowed to engage someone after they're fighting someone else, right? Let's say, for example, again, hypothetical here. Let's say I see someone in the dungeon and we agree not to team up, but we agree not to fight either. We're like, hey, I'm chill, you're chill. Let's not fight each other, right? And let's say you go your separate ways. Let's say a minute later, you're walking along, you hear the sounds of a skirmish, and you see that the dude who you have signed a non-aggression pact with is fighting someone else. Now, you're not a team with them. Are you allowed to kill that person, right? Or do you have to wait until after that until after that fight is over, right? How does that work? Are people allowed to team up against PvE enemies? I have heard people say that is allowed, but the rules here don't explicitly say that it is allowed, right? If you are allowed to do that, again, the scenario I kind of brought up before, what if someone attacks you and your teammate, right? Because if PvE teammates are allowed, what happens if someone else turns the experience into a PvP experience now, right? How do you react? Are you allowed to defend them? Do you have to stand back and let them do their 1v1? If you attack them after they kill your teammate, is that also teaming, right? The rules would maybe indicate no, but I don't know. It's a little. Can you body block? What if? Okay, here's a crazy one. What if the person hits both of you, right? What if they got a war maul and they come in and they hit both of you with a wide sweep? What do you do? It's extremely vague. It's very vague. It's weird. Also, the fact that the announcement is only announced via Discord. There's nothing in the game indicating that this is a new rule, despite the fact that there's a pop-up message at the start talking about the new update. There's no mention of this rule being there. I know it's not part of the update. That just happened, hotfix 18 or whatever, but it's not there. It's not in the game's launcher. There's a section for announcements in the game launcher. At the time of me recording this, there's nothing in the game launcher saying, hey, flashing lights. Hey, real quick. By the way, there's a new rule. We'll shoot you if you don't follow this new rule that a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are teaming. So it's extremely messy. And there's no grace period as far as the announcement's concerned, at least. It's saying starting today. Which, if it was today at a certain time, whatever. But it's now. It's happening now. The rule is currently in effect. So I don't know. Very weird. Let's talk about enforcement now. Um, my understanding is that most cheat detection is automated because there's too much data for developers to manually sift through. I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to coding. I don't know anything about cheat detection software. I don't know much about it, but this to me seems like something that's pretty difficult to automate, right? Like how do you automate? You know, how do you automate someone being nice to someone, right? How do you automate people teaming up against another person, right? Do you just do it based on if a player receives damage from multiple player sources, right? If two people hit someone, is that all it takes to detect? And does it detect further than that? Like, is there a time limit between? Like, how does that work? And then even then, like, I feel like no matter how narrow you make these parameters for this, you're gonna get so much fucking footage to have to sift through. Like that, it just seems that like it seems so hard to automate. It seems that most of this will have to be done through manual review, and I think that ultimately the game will be worse off for that, right? The developers, I think I've heard the number is somewhere around 30 total for Iron Mace. I've heard they've got a pretty small development team in the grand scheme of things, right? And if they're spending, those resources reviewing teaming violations instead of making new content for the game, it seems like it'll ultimately be a bad thing. Right? And it says in the announcement that there's definitely going to be no false bans, but that just, it seems unlikely that there will be no false bans. It seems like, very clear teaming is not so clear to me still, but whatever. Whatever. Let's move on. Let's move on here. No more emergent gameplay. Now, at this point, you'll be seeing a clip here. I'll let it just play for a bit, and then, we'll continue on. Hello there, sir. Hi, how are you?
Well, hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Would you like? There's some fighter loot in here if you want to snag this chest.
Yeah, you tell me.
I will not kill you. I need to use the shrine because I'm a little bit injured here, but you have at it.
You don't want this health potion?
No, I got the shrine. I'm fine. Thank you for not killing me. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Are you excited for the wipe?
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up.
Mhm. Have you had any weird bugs happen in this update? Because my last game I was just in, I had probably this is not an exaggeration, 50 other players in a goblin cave together.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was a weird. I don't know what happened. We all queued at the same time, I guess, or something, and it like the game started, and I think 20 people died within the first like 10 seconds of the lobby. It was it was really crazy. I didn't live. I died as well. But
No, I've just had matchmaking issues where it's like it doesn't, like it just says searching for a while.
yeah, mine was searching for a little bit too, and then when it did queue me in, it queued me in with like 50 people in a goblin cave. It was crazy. Yeah, we gotta get going. We're wasting time here. Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, I'm like suddenly playing one hand equals, but with my baby son and
Oh, how old's your son?
3 weeks old.
Oh, I mean, not to be judgmental, but you're playing Dark and Darker. You got a 3 week old.
Yeah,
Hey,
he was sleeping.
oh, and now he's awake. You know what? We got to get you out of here.
Yeah, I might just have to.
No, yo, listen, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Come on.
Are you hungry? What are you doing? Are you hungry?
What's
I
your
just
what's
changed
your
the sniper before I came in.
what's your son's name?
What?
What's your son's name?
William.
Okay, this one's for William. We're getting you out of here. Okay, so I think that was cool and interesting. And I'm pretty sure that with this new change, things like this will pretty much never happen in the game. I'm not saying 100% never, because in the clip there, we didn't fight anyone. We didn't break the rules, but the incentive to be friendly to people will be pretty much gone with this new ban. Um, and I understand that as a content creator for this game, I am more incentivized to make interesting things happen than the average player is. But I does, and this is a question that I'm leaving open to you, the viewer here. Does the average player genuinely want this game to be just a death match? A death match, you go in. I mean, you get money too. That's great. But is that all that people want from this game? Is just to go in, kill, and then leave afterwards? And if that's the case, that's fine. But I think the game has room for more things to happen personally. But, whatever. That's my opinion. It is what it is. Now, last up here is VoIP and players in general would become more toxic. Like I said before, this is speculative. I don't know if you've ever noticed this before. Gamers suck. They're generally speaking assholes. They have a much higher percent asshole per capita ratio than most other demographics. Before this change, there were pretty much two reasons to talk to each other. One was to team up with people. The other reason was to talk shit. I'm not proposing that trash talk should be banned. I don't think that's the case. But if the sole reason people talk is to talk trash, I think that the general perception of I think people will just treat each other worse. I think that's how it'll go down. Uh, that's just what I think it'll be. Again, speculative. I know. I'm not a psychologist. I don't understand people that well, I guess, in that sense. But you know, I just think that if gamers are only allowed to talk shit to each other, basically, that's what they'll do. If they're not allowed to be nice to each other, they will just be mean to each other. Is kind of, I think how things will end up going. Anyway, so in conclusion, as you can see, it's too long of a story to have it typed out here, so I'm just gonna talk about it real quick. If you are unfamiliar with Pathfinder is a tabletop RPG very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, made by different people, but it's extremely similar. And if you don't know, I don't know if it's ever been 100% directly said by Iron Mace. Dark and Darker is very heavily Dungeons and Dragons inspired. All of the classes are classes in D&D. A lot of the spells are spells in D&D, etc., yada yada, right? But there's obviously a lot of D&D inspiration in the game, right? Um, one time I was playing Pathfinder. It was my first time playing Pathfinder with a new group of people, right? I was playing, I think, a charlatan rogue. This was a long time ago. I'm old, by the way. I'm decrepit, if you didn't know. A strong wind is about to blow by, and I'm about to just disintegrate. But so I was playing Pathfinder for the first time. I was playing a charlatan rogue, and it was my first time playing with this group. And we start playing, and rogues are sneaky people, right? That's what they do. They're sneaky guys. So what I tried to do was I was like, "Hello, dungeon master." Or technically, sorry, "Hello, game master," because dungeon masters are only in D&D. In Pathfinder, it's a game master. So, game master, as a sneaky little rogue guy, I would like to attempt to split off from the party and go scout ahead, because I wanted to make sure the trail you're walking on didn't have, I don't know, an ambush, something, whatever, right? Again, I played Dungeons and Dragons a lot before this, but I'd never played Pathfinder. So I'm like, hey, I want to go do this. Uh, what do you want me to roll? And the GM was like, no, you can't do that. I will not allow you to separate from the party. And I had never had a dungeon master or a GM or anything just flat out tell a player, no, you can't do this because I don't want you to do it. That is like, I mean, there's a term in tabletop games called railroading. That is like, it's the one thing you never want to really do as a DM is make your players feel like they don't have autonomy and they don't have control. And I had a miserable time. Long story short, had a miserable time playing with them. Never played with them again, and never played Pathfinder again. Not that it's Pathfinder's fault. I think Pathfinder is still really cool and stuff, but you know, I just think it sucks that Iron Mace is basically doing what that GM did to me in Pathfinder. They're saying, no, you can't do it. You can't. Bad. And you know, One thing I want to say real quick is that I do think it's important to acknowledge that there isn't really a solution here that makes everyone happy. There's not a rule that you can just put in place that would stop the negative impact of teaming without maintaining the emergent gameplay that I personally enjoy, right? You could maybe try to change the rule so that way players who are teaming can only team if they are attacked first. You can maybe try to do something like that, but that would be even harder to enforce, I feel like, as far as a rule is concerned, right? It's all fucked. It's all fucked. Like, how do you like if you're talking about automation, that would even be harder to automate. You get even more reports. You get ton of false reports too. That would probably make it through the first wave of automation if they're only using the parameters of multiple damage sources coming in on a single player. Um, you'd probably get more false bans. Like it's just, it is not good either. Like that I would love for just being like, oh, you can only team up if someone attacks you first. I would love that for that to be the rule, but that would just be even harder to enforce from a you know from the developer standpoint. So I don't know. I personally think that the way things were before is just better. I understand the desire to fix things, but I think that this will overall be worse for the game. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I will see you for whatever video I make next. Goodbye.